This is a Student Learning Commons video presentation for sophisticated thesis statements for complex argumentation. A thesis statement is a clear and well-focused controlling idea you state near the start of your assignment, usually at the end of your introduction, and here you're going to explain to your reader what it is that you're going to present or argue and how you are going to do that. So a thesis statement is going to provide a debatable and significant claim. It will provide reasons to support your claim, and it will ideally forecast the scope and direction of your arguments. Thesis statements will follow common structures that logically link the main claim to the reasons supporting the claim. And a straightforward example of a logical link is the word because. Essentially, you'll be saying, my claim is correct because of this reason and this reason. The claim provides the foundation of the thesis statement. So a claim is any statement that requires proof or supporting evidence that you, as the writer, need to provide in order for your reader to accept your claim. Thus, a complaint needs to be debatable and researchable. So, for example, you might claim that SFU enrollment is increasing year over year. This claim is certainly researchable. You will be able to find data that shows enrollment amounts over the years. But is this claim debatable? Not really. It is pretty challenging to argue that a larger number is actually a smaller. Or maybe you're going to make a claim that SFU provides the best student experience. This claim is certainly debatable. Students from other universities may have a thing or two to say about this claim. But is it researchable? Well, possibly. If best student experience is defined and if there is data to measure this that can be compared across universities. It might be hard to come by, though. So your claim needs to be something that a reasonable person could argue against, or that can be supported by data that can be interpreted differently by other people. You also want your claim to be significant. Now, this does not mean that you need to present an idea or argument that has never been considered before in the entire history of humanity. Instead, to assess significance, try to answer this question when writing a claim. So what? If you were to make your claim and your reader asked you, so what? How would you respond? Basically, why should your reader care about your claim? Ideally, you want your claim to connect to a larger issue that most people will care about. A thesis can be accompanied by a recommendation or something that can help to solve or settle your claim. While not necessary, this can be helpful when it comes to writing your conclusion and to answering that so what question. Your significant and debatable claim must be linked to reasons that support why you are correct. There are various linking words like because, but also since, if, although, even though. These words form a logical bridge between the claim and its support. Reasons are developed from research. They should be based on evidence, typically derived from academic literature and other source material. When a thesis statement follows this basic framework of claim because of reasons, the outline of those reasons can serve to forecast the broad structure of your paper. The claim is generally the first part of the paper that you write because it helps guide your research. In the process of researching, patterns will emerge, and these can be grouped together to form your reasons. But writing is recursive, so as you research more, your supporting reasons might shift and evolve, and that's okay. While you're still working on your paper, consider your thesis a working thesis or a work in progress. Once you have finished researching and revising, return to your thesis and make any adjustments to your claim or your reasons so that these components are reflected in your paper. Your thesis statement needs to reflect the final organization of your paper, and it is much easier to adjust a reason in your thesis statement than to redo an entire research reason in your paper. So the thesis statement is one of the last things that you're going to revise, even though it's one of the first things you write and one of the first things your reader will see. All right, so let's put all this together. Let's build a thesis statement that has a claim, a logical link, and reasons. So here's my claim. University students should be required to participate in a co-op or work placement program. This is certainly debatable. The idea that something should or should not occur is a debatable statement. Because, and here's the logical link where I'm going to connect the claim to my reasons. And here's a reason. It prepares them for the rigors of maintaining a work-life balance. And a second reason, it enables them to assess the suitability of their chosen career path before they leave school. Now, these reasons are researchable. There is going to be empirical evidence on the benefits and pitfalls of co-op programs. There's also going to be anecdotal or survey research to support these reasons, or perhaps I could conduct some. You may have been told that a thesis statement is a sentence long. And that is often true, but it's not a hard and fast rule. As your research becomes more nuanced, and as your arguments become stronger and more complex, and as your thesis statement becomes more sophisticated, both your claim and your list of reasons might end up becoming long. So it's okay to split these up. You can have a claim in one sentence and your reasons in another. And it is still okay to use a linking word like because. You can start a sentence with because. It's better to have a complex and sophisticated thesis that spans 2 to 3 sentences rather than having this huge run-on sentence where all those elements of the thesis get lost. So here is an example of a thesis statement that is 3 sentences long. That first sentence is my claim. It is something that parents should do. It's debatable. Some people would likely disagree, thinking maybe that is not a parent's responsibility. The next sentence includes the reasons that I'm making this claim. These are all researchable. Longitudinal studies exist that reveal those impacts of believing everything you see online. And the final sentence is a recommendation. It's something that can be done to resolve the problem I've identified. Now, recommendation, like I said, it's not always necessary, but it does help connect the problem to the wider world, thus making your claim more significant and answering that "so what" question. This recommendation is also like a mini claim. It is something that can provide additional evidence to support. You will attempt to prove your thesis statement by providing evidence in the form of effective argumentation. And the Talman method is a style of argumentation that breaks down your argument into 6 component parts. So the claim is the assertion that you want to prove, your main argument, and I've talked about those. The grounds, these are the reasons of an argument. This is the evidence and the facts that help support your claim. Lastly is the warrant. This is either implied or stated explicitly, and it's the assumption that links the grounds to the claim. The claim, the grounds, and the warrant are 3 elements necessary to construct a strong argument. The other 3 elements, they're not fundamental to this method of argumentation, but they might be added if necessary. They can help you construct full, nuanced arguments. The backing refers to any additional support of the warrant. In many cases, the warrant is implied, and therefore the backing provides support for the warrant by giving a specific example that justifies the warrant. A qualifier shows that a claim might not be true in every circumstance. Using words like presumably or some or many can help your audience understand that you know that there are instances where your claim may not be correct. And a rebuttal is an acknowledgement of another valid view of the situation. We include a qualifier or rebuttal to help build our ethos or our credibility. When you acknowledge that your view isn't always true, or when you provide multiple views of a situation, you build an image of a careful and unbiased thinker rather than of someone who is blindly pushing for a single interpretation of the situation. Considering that strong claims are debatable, recognizing and then possibly rebutting this debate, it will strengthen your authority on the subject.